Client 2. So as spoken about previously, there are some factors which you can change and some factors that you can't change. Some factors that you can change include your diet, your weight, your exercise levels, the amount of sleep you get. And so I can work on that with my client. And some things that you can't change include your age, your height, your gender, your body shape and build. So this is my client 2, and I'm going to be analysing his results of the health screen test that I performed with him. So I've asked him about the questionnaire, I've done the health questionnaire on him, and now these are the health screening results. So lung function. So for his lung function, currently his result does put him below the average. So here I've shown an arrow to point at what he got. So he got 490. And here on the graph, the average for his age and height is 515. So he is below average for his age and for his height. I mean, it's not ridiculously low, but I would look to increase his lung function and increase his peak flow result, as a lower lung function tends to be more greatly associated with lung diseases such as asthma, etc. So a low score is often due to the lungs being unable to expel air properly during exhalation. So to increase lung function, so to help Dave increase his lung function score, I'd work on him to help him carry out more exercise. Aerobic exercise is mostly effective for that. He should stop smoking. This is going to worsen his lung function. He needs to stay hydrated. So that's his on the graph. So he's a bit lower than average, but not too low. And then this is a graph here that I've done. This shows the average at 515, and this shows his at 419. So he is below average, but not massively below, but it would be something that I'd seek to improve and help him improve. Blood pressure. So here is his results. So he got 149 over 93. So as blood moves, it pushes against the size of blood vessels, and the strength of this pushing is the blood pressure. So because Dave's blood pressure on this graph, so here's on the graph, I've added his blood pressure in, and it is clearly a high blood pressure, so it's high. So this shows that as the blood is moving, the strength of the pushing is the blood pressure. So because Dave's blood pressure is so high, extra strain is being placed on his heart and his arteries, and this could lead to heart attacks and strokes. So the average blood pressure is 120 over 80, and so his blood pressure is 149 over 93. So his systolic value is 149 when the average is 120, and his diastolic is 93 when the average is 80. So yeah, the arrow on the screen shows where my client's blood pressure would be on this graph for adults. And yes, this is a concern as it is high. It's very, very high. It is a high blood pressure, as the ideal is down here. So it is a high blood pressure. So I would work with him to help get his blood pressure down to normal levels. So it's not like it's something that you can't change. We can change this. We can help reduce it. I can work with Dave to help reduce his blood pressure. Some ways to reduce his blood pressure includes reducing his salt intake. So what I found is in the questionnaire, he said that he eats a lot of McDonald's pretty much every single day. And this is really, really high in salt content. Obviously burgers and fries, that's a lot of salt. So I would look to reduce the amount of salt that he's eating. So getting him a healthy diet is another way of reducing blood pressure. So reducing salt intake, eating a healthy diet, stopping smoking or reducing smoking. My client does smoke, so I'd look to stop or reduce that. And increasing exercise also helps with blood pressure reduction. So a blood pressure of 140 over 90 or higher tends to be hypertension, which is where there's a lot of strain on the arteries and organs, which increase risk of developing problems such as heart attacks and strokes. So at the moment, my client's blood pressure is a bit too high, so we definitely need to reduce that. Here's just a little graph that shows it. So the blue is the average, and the orange is the average, and the blue is my client. You can see both, it's very much higher. His diastolic value isn't quite as dramatically different as the systolic value, but that's because it is a lower value. But I would definitely seek to reduce his blood pressure. So heart rate. So an average adult's heart rate is between 60 and 100 beats per minute. The best kind of being roughly, well, the optimal being 60 to 80. And my client's heart rate is 77. So, I mean, on this graph, I've added an arrow. Here, 77 is below average, but it's borderline below average. As you can see, it's, oh, whoops. If I move this, this is 76. And so he is here in the below average section, but he's one off being in the average. So it's not something to really be concerned about. I mean, it is at the higher end. His result is at the higher end. And so it does need to be looked at as it is below average, his result. However, it's not a major concern. I would look to work with him to reduce his heart rate to between maybe 72 and 75, because then that would be an average, which is kind of best for his age. So I would look to decrease it slightly, but at the moment it's not something to be concerned about. It's just a slightly too high, but it's not massively too high. And here shows the average at around 70, and so, oh, that's gone a bit high. That should be a little bit lower. That should be at 77. That's gone a bit too high. But yeah. So I would look to get him to have a healthier heart rate between 72 and 75 beats per minute. As a lower heart rate indicates a more effective heart, and triacardia is a heart disorder which is associated with high resting heart rates. So when the heart rate is above 100, this is common, but he is not near that, so that is really good. Although my client isn't at all at risk of it, we do need to maybe reduce it slightly. So a lower heart rate is better, as it tends to indicate better fitness, as the heart is delivering a greater amount of oxygen to the body per heartbeat. So as someone becomes fitter, their heart rate will decrease as the heart will become stronger. So if I improve my client's fitness as a result, the heart rate should decrease. So BMI. So my client's BMI was 31.6. So I've added an arrow onto the chart which shows where his result would lie. As you can see, his result lies in the obese area. So here, in the obese area. This is a concern, and I would definitely seek to help get his BMI lowered, preferably down to the healthy area on the chart, so preferably around here. So at the moment, it being in the B section, it is too high. I would definitely look to help Dave lower it and try and get him down to the healthy weight section. I mean, obviously that would take quite a while because progress is slow when trying to lose weight, and so it would, first off, we'd try and get him into the overweight section and rather than the obese section, and then try and reduce it to the healthy weight. And so I'd help him lose fat and essentially get him to lose, which would essentially mean he's losing weight. And I'd also try to increase his muscle. I would look at him to start doing more exercise, avoid sitting down quite as much, have a healthier diet, try and stop eating as much McDonald's, try and get some more fruit and veg. So this would be ways to reduce the fat intake, and so therefore he won't be putting on as much weight, and therefore it would try and be reducing his weight. So my aim would be to get his BMI into the healthy weight area, as being in the obese area can lead itself to underlying health risks. A BMI in the obese section could lead to coronary heart disease, cancer and other things, so I would definitely look to decrease that. Hip to waist ratio. So if someone is overweight and there's excess weight is putting their health at risk, so the hip to waist ratio can help predict your risk from heart disease and heart disease and diabetes. So my client has a hip to waist ratio of 0.98, and on the table I've added an arrow to where his score would be. So a healthy hip to waist ratio is 0.9 or less in men and 0.5 or less in women. A lower hip to waist ratio shows that the person has less fat, and men and women with a hip to waist ratio of over 1 or higher have increased risks of heart disease and other conditions linked to being overweight. So he is below 1, however he is very close to being on 1, so that it is a bit of a risk. And here on the chart is where his result would lie. So again, the disease risk related to obesity, he is on the higher end of the scale. So my score is in the higher. My client's score is in the higher area, so there is a risk of him having or developing chronic diseases such as coronary heart disease, hypertension, and diabetes, which is associated with a high hip to waist ratio. But I will work with him to reduce his hip to waist ratio, as it is high on the table, but then 0.97 is, he's borderline moderate. He's quite close to being on the moderate, so we could get him down quite easily, I think. So because it's at the lower end of the here, he's not too far off the moderate hip to waist ratio, which is positive, as it won't take too long to get him into that section. And then here is my client's hip to waist ratio, and this is the average for his age and height, and this is kind of the obese point. Over here and above is kind of the worst area, so he's not too bad. He's a bit over, so we would want to reduce it slightly, but he's not in the overweight, in the over area, so he's all right. Here are a couple of photos of me with Dave getting ready to carry out the hip to waist ratio measurement. So all in all, with the health screening tests, I'd work with Dave and I'd help him. I think I could really help change his lifestyle around and reduce the risk that he's currently at threat to and is slightly vulnerable to, but we can improve that and hopefully reduce the risks. So now we're talking about the strengths and weaknesses from the lifestyle questionnaire and the questions that he answered. So first of all, I'm going to pick out some of the strengths. So one of his strengths was that he said he was very committed. So he's very committed to achieving his goals. He's a 7 out of 10. This is really good, as it shows that he'll be motivated to achieving his goals and that he's likely to want to put in a lot of hard work and effort. So this is a definite strength. As he'll show that he's motivated and will put in time and effort. The next strength is that physical activity, due to his job, it is sitting down, as he's a delivery van driver, but he did say that he does a lot of walking upstairs when he's having to lift heavy boxes and stuff like that. So lifting heavy boxes will be increasing his strength, and walking upstairs will be increasing his cardiovascular endurance. So it will all be helping. He's not doing enough exercise, but this is all good. It's a little bit lacking exercise, but I'll talk about that in a minute. But it's still good that he's building up a little bit of strength from lifting the heavy boxes and is walking upstairs. A strength of his nutrition is that he drinks a lot of water. He said that he drinks 3 to 4 litres of water a day, which is really good, as the recommended amount is around 2 litres. So he's above that, which is excellent, as it's really, really good to stay hydrated. It's very good for your body. The next strength is that he gets a good amount of sleep per night. He said that he gets 9 to 10 hours of sleep each night. Now this is really, really good, as the recommended amount is for an adult is getting around 7 to 8 hours. So he's above that, and it's really good to get enough sleep so that you can power on through the day, as the average adult needs 7 to 9 hours. So he's above that, which is really, really good. Another strength is that he doesn't consume much alcohol. Again, this is really good, as alcohol is additional calories. It's not that good for you. It's not good for you. And it's good that he doesn't drink alcohol, as it's something that will be, if he did drink it, it would be affecting his health. So that's definitely something that's a definite strength. And then another strength is the physical health, is that he's got no health conditions in the family, which is definitely a good thing, as he's not quite as vulnerable to developing certain diseases and health risks. So now I've picked out some areas for improvement and some weaknesses. For the goals, one of his weaknesses was that he doesn't like exercise. So an obstacle stopping him from completing his goals was that he doesn't like exercise. He used to play football for a 5-a-side team, however stopped. When I spoke to him about exercise, he said he didn't really enjoy it, and that he said he might be interested in getting back to football and he would want to, but because he said he's lacking a bit of confidence, as he hasn't played in a while, and he currently rated his fitness level out of 10 as a 2, with 10 being very fit. So, because he's got quite a low fitness level, as he spends a lot of time sitting down, this is a weakness, as he's got obstacles in the fact that he doesn't like exercise. But if we could get him to maybe change his perception of exercise and get him to enjoy exercise by trying to find out different exercise that he can do, if we try a variety of different exercises, he hopefully will enjoy some of them.